Oh, okay. The lighting always freaks me out. I think it's working. It says there are 3 people here.
It's working.
I don't know if I changed the sound to the mic though.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Okay, if anyone can tell us if they can hear us okay, please let me know in the chat. I just want to make sure that the sound is working because I'm not sure if I set up the mic or not. But if not, it should be going through the sound of the Mac in general. So yes. Okay, cool. So the sound is working. Okay, good. I definitely don't think we have a whole mic plugged in here, but I'm not sure if it's turned on, but that's okay. We'll give it just a few minutes. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is our first time going live on YouTube, I think. Yeah, we did it for our Discord members once, but people have always said that they prefer people go live on YouTube versus Instagram because on Instagram, it occupies your whole phone, whereas on YouTube, you can have it in the background and not, taking up your whole phone the whole time.
That's cool.
Well, because you can't watch on Instagram anywhere except your phone, right?
Oh, good point.
So it's your whole phone taken up. So that's why. And on YouTube, it's much easier to just save it. And as soon as it's over, it just uploads to YouTube so people can rewatch it. Whereas Instagram Lives, you have to download it. It's just a whole mess. In this live, I'm going to talk about my credit score. I really never thought I would share this story on the internet. I didn't even share it with pretty much anyone except like Ernesto and like my older brother. But I think Ernesto is probably one of the only people that knows
the full story,
the full details of it because he was there the whole time. He lived it with me.
I was present in time.
Well, you weren't present when I was screwing everything up, but you were there for the fixed. So what's up, Garrett?
What's up?
So, okay. Where do I start? So I have good credit now, just to get it straight. Not, but I had really bad credit when I was younger. I'm still young, but when I was much younger, when I was like 20-ish to like 23, this was occurring. So we'll go back in time. This is 6 years ago, 2014, literally October, back when we lived in Missouri. I was driving home from my 9 to 5 one day, and we lived in the city. So I had like a 45-minute commute on the interstate, and there was a traffic jam.
Yeah, Missouri traffic is wild. St. Louis especially.
Yeah, well, we were in St. Louis specifically.
It's wild.
I had really terrible traffic to deal with, but I was driving home and I got stuck in traffic, and this guy, I was in the left lane. It was at a dead, his name was Tom. I look at my rear view and I see this car, a Jeep, and I was in a sedan, and I just look back and I go, he's not going to stop. He's going to hit me. There's no way in hell this guy isn't going to hit me. My first thought was, that's it. It's a wrap. I'm dead. Because I was at a full stop. He was going like 70. So this guy hits me, pushes me into the car in front of me, and pushes me into the other car in front of me. And then this is where it gets good. Another car comes and hits him, and we all go through this again, right? So I'm sitting there on the interstate. I swear this has something to do with my credit in a second, but I'm sitting there on the interstate and I'm like, well, cool. I'm not dead. That's awesome. It was really, I don't know how no one was severely harmed in this accident, but they weren't. My face was messed up. You remember?
Weren't you worried about like your tea or something?
As soon as the accident happened, the first thing I did is I looked over and I saw that my iced tea, I got an iced tea from the office on the way home, was spilled everywhere. And I remember thinking, I can't believe my tea is spilled. My car was totaled. There was airbags and smoke, and I was bleeding, and I was worried about my iced tea. But I guess that's shock. I had never been in a car accident. I mean, I was 23. Why would I have been I'd never been in a car accident at this point. So, so I get out of the car. Like I said, luckily I was fine. They checked me out in an ambulance. I didn't even end up going to the hospital.
No, you just called me, and it was basically like, hey, you come pick me up.
I was like, someone totaled my car on the interstate.
I mean, it's scary when you come in.
Hold on. Alexa, stop. Sorry if I triggered anyone's, but
No, but it's scary when you go pick someone up and you see their car on top of those,
like getting towed away.
Getting towed away
Yeah.
on top of a tow truck. That's pretty scary. All smashed in from the front and back.
So,
yeah.
But the car I was driving was a car that I bought when I was 16, brand new, and I had paid it off. I had paid the loan for 5 years, paid this car off in full, never missed a payment, all of this. And I was going to drive this car into the freaking ground. So when this guy totaled it, my paid off car, I had insurance and everything in it. My insurance didn't cover it because I didn't cause the accident. His insurance covered it in full. But I was just like, crap, what do I do now? Because this was the car I was planning to drive for. I mean, it had at least 5 more years in it. I probably would still be driving that car today.
And it was crazy because right there, we were about to move in together. And
we were supposed to move in together that weekend.
Yeah, it was that weekend. It was like the end of the week almost. Like
it was like a Thursday or something, yeah.
We were supposed to move in that weekend, and she started to go to work on Monday.
Well, yeah, I called in the next day. But
I called in the next day, but it's just crazy timing.
Yeah, so we had only been together like 6 months at this time. But so at this point is when I realized I need to get a new car.
Right.
And this is when I knew that all of the stupid stuff I had done regarding my credit was going to come up. Like, I knew that this was the point where I was going to have to face this stuff. And it was a terrible situation to have to face it because I had to go buy a car, right? Like I had no other choice other than to go and get a car. And I didn't know any better than like buying a new car or a used car. All I thought was I need to go get a new car now.
Right.
This is 6 years ago. I've learned a lot in 6 years. So we moved in together that weekend still.
Yep. Still did that. She had a busted lip and everything, but she was still there picking boxes.
Picked up the furniture, whatever.
She was good.
And then I realized, okay, I need to go get a new car. So let's go do this.
We did CarMax because it was the whole no hassle thing, and we just want to say we need something to go get a car, no hassle, just get something to get back to work,
So we went to CarMax, and again, I knew I didn't have good credit, but I had just never faced it. I don't know if anyone else is like this. I'm not like this anymore, but sometimes it's easier just to ignore a problem than to face a problem and deal with it. So I had just kind of ignored my credit for a while. But at this point, I couldn't ignore it anymore. So we went to CarMax and we had found a car. I was going to purchase it and everything. Like we were only dating at this time, right? So the car salesman was like, oh, is it okay if he's here for the financing part? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, it's fine. We had never really talked
not too
financial
much
stuff. We were dating for 6 months. Granted, we were moving in together, but we had not really talked financial stuff too much. Like,
right.
I didn't know his credit score. He didn't know mine. Like, we didn't know each other's salaries. I don't know at this point. I don't think so.
We might know salaries, but yeah, we were working in the 6 month phase, so we were not really discussing.
And we were younger.
Yeah, it was a different time.
So he's sitting there, and the car salesman comes back, and he's got like the piece of paper with like the loan terms and the other piece of paper that says your credit score on it. And I'm like, oh God. Like, I know it's going to be bad, but I was thinking like 6 something, 620, 640. Again, I was living in the clouds. I don't know why I thought this, but again, granted, this is 6 years ago. I've come a long way. And he comes out, and the car salesman is like, okay, here's the terms of your loan. Terrible. Just terrible.
Not good.
Should be illegal to have interest rates that high. And he's like, by the way, here's your credit score. And he like slides the paper, the paper with your credit score on it. And I was like, did he say it?
I think he said it.
He had the audacity to say it out loud too. Like, okay, man, I know it's bad. You don't have to say it out loud. He's like, your credit score is like 504 or something.
It was someone down there.
It was bad. Okay. And I'm like 23. I think I was 23 at the time. So how I got my credit score that low by age 23, pretty impressive. And Ernesto's there, right? You know, this guy that I'm dating and trying to impress. You know, we had just moved in together that weekend.
Just that weekend.
And he didn't know this stuff.
No. I was like, oh, ouch.
And he also has really good credit. And you've never had bad credit.
No, I've been fortunate, never had a bad credit, but yeah, so seeing that was kind of, I was surprised.
What was your credit score at the time that my 500 credit score was being slid across the table?
I was probably in the high 7s. Probably.
Yeah, he was probably at like 800 credit score. His credit score's like always been in 800s. So it's like he was like turned 18 and it was like, here's your 800 credit score.
Yeah, I mean,
you just never made any mistakes.
No, I think I started very slow, so I think that's kind of what saved me a little bit.
Yeah,
I started credit later, where I think most people don't already had credit for years now. So I think that lateness and then just life in general kind of made me a little hesitant.
You're also like very financially conservative.
Yeah, so it was a little different, but I mean, yeah, when we saw that, it was like, okay, well, I mean, the options were obviously we needed a car, so it's kind of, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And we knew going somewhere else was not going to make make a big difference. So we just said, okay, it is what it is. We just got to take it and move on.
We have a spammer already.
So
okay. So we don't have a moderator, but this is my first time having a spammer here. We love that. Okay, sorry guys. Okay, so after this, well, first we'll talk about how I got to this.
Right.
How did I get to this place with my credit at only age 23? So first, I didn't grow up with money in any regards, in any way. I never learned about credit. I never understood it. And I definitely didn't understand the ramifications of bad credit in the slightest. I had no idea like the full impacts of credit or what you were supposed to do to build credit. And then in college is very expensive. If you've been to college, it's really, really expensive. And I worked throughout college. I did everything I could to pay for college, but unfortunately the way student like financial aid packages is some of it is like your parents are going to take out this loan for you, which granted works for people, but that was not my situation. So sometimes, a lot of semesters, my financial aid package just didn't cut what I needed to pay. And then you have food, you have rent, there's all these other expenses that go into college. So throughout college, I would use credit sometimes as a way to kind of supplement things.
Do we do, right? I mean, it's...
Going back, if I could go back, I wouldn't do that again, but I just didn't really understand at the time what I was doing wrong. I thought, oh, this is fine. This is fine. I'll figure it out. It was kind of like, it was literally like, I'll figure this out later.
Right.
And that's what I ended up doing.
And later caught up.
Yeah. And then it was later and I was like, I'm just going to ignore this. So yeah, I just didn't really have the background in credit. And then I just was stupid throughout college. And then after I graduated, like, I don't know, I had a good job and I was successful in all of this. And I just kind of ignored it. This was October and I graduated in May. So it wasn't that far after graduation when I realized I'm in a bad situation credit-wise. Mm-hmm. So what did I do to fix this? So like I said, it's been 6 years. My credit's really good now. I mean, 6 years is a long time though.
It is. And that's one of the things that we'll talk about the longevity and being consistent with your plan. So obviously the first thing we did was obviously we talked about it, and that's kind of the most important thing that we recommend is like, if you have someone and you can talk about, well, first admitting your problem, right? Or at least identifying it, right? Say, hey, I know there's an issue. don't put it off. Don't ignore it. It's not gonna get any better.
Yeah.
So definitely, first thing is realize the situation and say, hey, I think there's a problem.
And that was helpful too, to be able to talk to him and be like, hey, my credit sucks. Like, he was never mean about it. Ernest was not mean about anything though. He's a really nice human being, but having someone to kind of talk it out, because I had always been kind of ashamed of it. And I think a lot of people feel that way if their credit isn't right. It's
understandable. It's
yeah, I felt ashamed. I was like,
that's a bad way to find out too. It's just like, boom, here it is. Situation happened, an emergency, and then so you need a resolution, but then you get smacked in the face with this kind of past that you haven't discussed, right, with yourself.
Yeah.
So it's tough. I understand, and it's a hard thing to realize, if that is an ongoing issue.
Yeah. It was a tough one, but I mean, I'm glad he was there for it, and I wasn't just hanging out by myself to deal with it by myself. So I'm looking at my notes here. So what did I do to fix it? So first, it wasn't an overnight thing. If your credit is screwed, like, you can't just fix that in a month. And I know I see when you have bad credit too, you get the stuff in the mail, like, fix your credit in 30 days. And that, most of that's a scam. That's a scam. That's not a thing. You literally can't fix your credit that quickly. Yeah, you can improve it, but you cannot fix it if you have like a 500 credit score. You're not going to get to 800 in 30 days. It's impossible. So the first thing I did was, after talking to him about it, I had to kind of understand what I was doing wrong and get a general understanding of how does credit work? What do I need to do here? Ernesto was helpful with that because he had a general understanding of credit. And the funny thing is I wasn't completely like lacking the knowledge. I was just, ignoring the knowledge. So where I had gone wrong was late payments. I just didn't pay it a lot of times because I couldn't.
Right.
So I would just not pay it. And I had 30, 60-day late payments. I think I had a couple 90-day late payments. Yeah, I know I did.
Not paying is one of the biggest things that was going to impact.
Yeah. Credit. I wish I had screenshots of like the data from when my credit was bad.
Right.
I was too ashamed to take screenshots and write it all down, but I wish I had that because it'd be interesting to look back on like exactly where I was going wrong with things. But I had late payments, and then I didn't have that much credit like for my total limit, but I had a lot of high balances across. I didn't have that many credit cards either. I think I had maybe 3 at the time.
Because that's another big impact. If you have too much, you're basically too much in debt, that can hurt your credit a lot.
I think my ratio was probably 60-70%, which is really high, especially when you have
late payments.
And you have late payments is the worst. That's one of the worst factors on your credit. And I had several at that point, so that didn't help in the slightest. So those were my 2 main things, which I think is what a lot of people run into is late payments. Once you make one late payment,
it just compounds.
It compounds, and it's easier to make another one. It just becomes a bad habit. And also, once you get to the point where you can't pay it, it's not like 2 months later you just magically stumble across money and you can pay it, right? So those were my 2 main problems. Was I just had way too much debt to credit, and I had 30, 60, and 90-day late payments. So what did I do to fix this? So granted, this had all happened after I had graduated. So I had a job, I had a salary at this point, and I had more money than I did in college. Obviously, I was making more than I did when I waitressed at my corporate job. So that definitely helped me out to have money, to be able to, start taking care of this. But the first thing I did, and this is a little thing, but it makes a huge difference, especially when you have a lot more credit cards, which this helps us now even, is setting up the automatic payments to always pay your minimum balance, so you're never late.
Right. That's a big, huge, easy win there, because you automatically will never be late. And that's really the number one thing. Don't be late. Always hit your minimums. And that already starts you on such a good path that it's insane.
Yeah, you don't want to ever. I never missed a payment after that. That was it. I think that.
Didn't you get like a letter like not too long ago saying like you haven't missed a payment in?
I haven't missed a payment in 6 years.
I wasn't sure. I was like, wow, that's cool. I never got one of those. It's like, man.
It was just Credit Karma. It was just an email.
All right.
It was an email, yeah. But yeah, I think the embarrassment of that guy is telling me my credit score in front of Ernesto, as stupid as that sounds, that embarrassed me a lot. So embarrassment will do wonders. I work well under embarrassment. So that was a big motivation to not have to ever go through that again. And after that, I made sure I always paid the minimum at least, because those late payments kill you and they take so long to fall off your credit. I remember when the last late payment fell off my credit, it was years after that. And I remember being so thankful that was finally gone off of my credit, because that's the one thing about credit that's really hard is your mistakes haunt you. They really do haunt you for a long time. So then after I was good with making sure I was actually paying the cards, then I went and attacked the balances, right? Generally speaking, I don't know what someone calls a high amount of credit card debt and a low amount of credit card debt. I didn't have a high amount of credit card debt. But I had enough to where it was a little bit of struggle to pay it off. It wasn't something I could pay off
at one time,
or even in a couple of months. I think it took almost about a year to get all that stuff cleared out. But I sat down, made a plan, and thought, how much can I pay every month to pay this stuff down?
Pay a little extra, because you have a lot of things going on in your life, and that's one of the things you have to
had my new car payment with my really high interest rate too.
Right. There's things like that occur. There's, our case, right, we have student loans that we have to take care of, and those things are not your friend.
Yeah, I had student loans too. Yeah.
Right. But credit cards are very high interest rates. So you want to make sure you attack those things first, because those things will eat you alive if you ignore it. So a good strategy is just, what do you have? What's your debts? Which ones are your biggest balances? And try to, attack those as much as you can and work that down. Because that way you can attack those balances as other balances, and those interests kind of hit you on the smaller end. Overall, in the long term, you will work that down. So definitely attacking the bigger balances with the bigger interest rates, because credit cards obviously very significant.
Yeah, you're talking like 24% interest,
that's a lot.
almost 30% interest on a lot of cards, right? So if you get yourself into a significant amount of debt, it can be very difficult to get out of that debt. But luckily, that's not the position I was in. My biggest problem wasn't the debt. It was the freaking late payments that you just can't do anything about those. That's just a time thing. You can be on time, and I was on time from then on. But I focus on paying everything off. That was the main goal. And then I kind of focused on changing my habits with credit. So I went back to using primarily my debit card.
Right.
And I don't know when the last time at this point is that I've used my debit card. I don't use it anymore. But at that point, that's like the restriction I needed, was if the money's not there, I'm not buying it.
No, you have to. You have to put those rules. And there's a lot of good tricks you can do with credit cards once you have a healthy balance and you have a healthy handle on your credit cards. Credit cards can actually be very beneficial, and they can really work with you. But in situations like this, where you're kind of always several steps behind, you gotta have to impose yourself some of these hard rules of saying it's coming out of direct checking. If it's not there that is required, or I need it at this moment, or whatever other excuse it is, that's it. No more excuses. It's like, it needs to be just the primary benefits, rent, food, the perks. Gotta put on hold. You have to be stringent with yourself. If not, this is not gonna work.
Yeah. So I just used my debit card for a while, a couple of years. I think I hardly use credit. We only use credit now because we're responsible, and there are a lot of rewards and benefits to using credit. But I went on a debit card diet and basically only used my debit card because I couldn't get into any more trouble with that. Another two things I did is I requested credit line increases on my existing cards. So like, I had the card that I got when I was 18, when I was, trying to get established with credit history. They had a super low balance because it was just one of those crappy cards that they give to 18-year-olds. So I requested increases on that, just because I was trying to get my credit limits up, my total credit limit up. That worked. We bank with a lot of different banks, but for example, like Capital One, when you request a credit line increase, it's not a hard inquiry on your credit, and you can request one every 6 months and potentially get an increase. So I still do that to this day, but that definitely helped getting my credit lines up to ask for increases with my existing credit cards. And I waited a little bit to do this. I waited for some of those late payments to fall off. I wasn't, because if not, they were just going to deny you. They're not going to.
Right. It's just.
And that's okay if they deny it. I don't really care.
But part of this is also, it's like I said, I think we said this earlier, right? It's a long game in some of this. It's like those small movements, those small steps are going to get you amazing gains down the road. And on top of that, right, so requesting limits in your current credit cards, as you start building, some of these things start falling off, you can also start applying for other credit cards. I mean, a limit could get you so far and could sometimes work very well, but sometimes just requesting a new credit card inquiries are not going to impact your credit as hard as other factors. So getting another credit card that can give you a substantial increase in your total credit amount is also very beneficial. When you're ready to those steps, as you go 6 months, a year, and you build those steps, asking for credit increases and opening further credit cards can have a substantial jump in your credit score.
Yeah, that's the other thing I did. Once my score was going up a little bit, I started just getting additional credit cards, not too many too quickly, but I got a couple more. I don't even know how many credit cards I have now. Like, I have no idea.
Remember, this works in standard use credit cards as well, like store credit cards. All those things all compile into one total. So if you have a store that you shop and you use, you can get a credit card there that, well, like I said, following good guidelines for credit, it can both benefit you from a store purchasing perspective, but as well as increasing your overall credit, which is substantial.
Yeah, and you can even get, there's so many damn credit cards. Like,
there's a lot.
There's a lot.
All kinds of rewards.
Yeah, so I started getting more credit cards, just to increase my limit. And like I said, that took time. And I would look at like what my credit score was, and then I would look at what the average credit score is to be approved for this card. And I would try to only apply for credit cards where I really thought that I would get approved, because I didn't want to have the hard inquiry and then get declined. So I took it slowly, and I went with cards that I was pretty sure that I was going to get approved. And that took time as well. That took years to get more and more cards. And then I made sure that I used them slightly and then paid them off in full every month. So I wasn't, getting into any debt with any of that or anything.
And I want to just mention that paying your credit cards in full, right? So let's say you might not be at the stage where Nina was, right? That low, maybe you're in the mid levels and you want to keep boosting your credit up. Following that good practice of paying your credit card in full, even though it sounds kind of crazy, it's a very good strategy.
It shouldn't sound crazy.
It shouldn't sound crazy, but that's really what you want to do. If you want over time and you start getting more comfortable with credit and be able to use that credit, you can start swapping out basically your debit expenses with credit expenses, as long as you're paying those payments in full every month. And that way you're basically substituting nothing, because the same amount of money that you were paying initially, you're going to be paying now, but now you're going to get the benefits. And that's where really things start multiplying, because one, you're using credit, which is good. Your credit history, your credit utilization goes up, which boosts your credit, but as well as you just start getting free perks. And that's really when it really starts hitting home. It's like, okay, this is nice.
Yeah, like we don't really pay for flights anymore. We have so many freaking points right now. We can't go anywhere, but that's a whole nother tangent. But yeah, so I think within about 2 to 3 years, my credit was starting to look a lot better than it was. And then I think that third year is when things really started turning around. So this was not a quick process, but like I didn't screw my credit up overnight. So of course it wasn't going to get fixed that quickly. So it took a long time and a lot of patience to get that fixed. I think that's one of the biggest things to remember. Like, this is not a small problem to tackle.
It's a long game.
It's a long game, and it can be, like, my situation was bad, but I think it can get a lot worse, right, just depending on how much debt you have. If you have a lot of debt, that's really difficult. Yeah. So you just have to keep that in mind. This is not there's no quick fix to your freaking credit. Like I said, that's a scam, and you have to be patient with
discipline,
fixing it.
Right. Patience and discipline. And it's the hard truth, because obviously once you're in a situation, you could be stressed, you could be thinking of a million things, but unfortunately, this is something that, Nina was very patient with, was very calculated about. It's like, we had a plan. We talked about the plan, and
he was also very supportive of the whole thing too, which definitely helped. But I mean, it was like, I hope no one was coming to this live stream looking for some like magic trick on how I fixed my credit. It was like 3 years of never missing a payment and constantly working on it. There was no magic to this. So, but now my credit score stays high 7s, low 8s. And I can, at this point, kind of get pretty much any credit card I want. Right. I don't really have any issues with it, but we also use credit incredibly responsibly now. We don't ever carry balances. We pay everything off in full.
And remember, once you start these habits, it's a huge mindset change, because you're going from a situation that unfortunately was not great, but all these small habits and small quirks over a long period of time, you'll be amazed how disciplined you become to yourself, and how impressed you will be with yourself, where you're like instantly thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to use this credit card, or no, I'm going to use this debit, and you just start naturally following these guidelines that you set for yourself, and you will basically never have a problem with credit. Again.
Debbie asks, is Credit Karma a good resource? Yes. I personally love Credit Karma. Thank God, whoever made that. I love you. Like, it's the best. It's
simple.
It's just, it's really intuitive.
It gives you all the information you need to know. Very simplistic. We use it all the time.
Yeah, I check Credit Karma like a couple times a month at least. Yeah. Not that I expect anything to show up different, but it's just good to see. And I think it also shows you the main factors and where you're going wrong and what you can do better. It definitely helped me when I was building my credit, and it's kind of like almost like a report card is the way I would put it.
And it's great because you could, like you said, I think that's the biggest benefit, that you can quickly load it up and see exactly where you are and see, hey, do I have any hard inquiries, or what's my credit utilization? It's like, oh man.
It's really nice to see your utilization across the board, because otherwise you're kind of like trying to like add that up. And when you have a lot of cards, it can get really
If you have loans and stuff like that, both student loans, car loans, home loans, all that stuff shows up, which is very helpful to see all together and kind of get you a full picture of,
that's true too. You can see everything, your mortgage.
That's really helpful. I highly recommend it. It's very useful. We use it a lot.
We use Credit Karma a lot. Self-credit helped me jump 100 points in 3 months. I'm currently working on fixing my credit. I have never heard of self-credit, so I don't know what that is, but
I'm not sure.
That's awesome though.
Yeah,
that's really awesome.
Fantastic. I mean,
I know there's
awesome.
I didn't do anything like that when I was fixing my credit, and I don't know why I didn't look into anything.
I think, there's different approaches. I mean, there's definitely like credit limit cards that you can kind of use credit, but with a limit. And
sometimes there's companies that it's like,
oh yeah, that's awesome.
There's different ways you can manage it too, because if you have debt across the board, you can reconcile it also, which can help with your credit score and everything too.
I think for me personally speaking, and this is just my own personal experience, and like I said earlier,
the guy that's never had bad credit. Tell us about your personal experience.
Well, what I'm gonna say is I was a little bit late to the whole credit thing. I was used debit for a very long time because I didn't really know about credit. I was terrified of credit because I've always heard like, oh, you're gonna be in debt and blah blah blah. Yeah. But that just kind of was the mindset I was in, and debit to me, is like the no joke, right? It's like if you have this much in your bank account and you're gonna spend this much, it's in your face. Either that's a stupid decision or yeah, I can buy that.
Or your card's getting declined.
Right. So that was just something I did, and over time, that's how I balanced it. I knew, I used debit, especially if I was in a situation I was building credit. I mean, I started with a $200 Radio Shack credit card just because I worked there. But I think the debit part kind of gives you also that check mark. It's kind of like someone there checking you, and that's your bank account.
Yeah.
And sometimes you forget that with credit, especially when you just swipe, move on. You kind of forget where you at, what's your limit. So,
until it gets declined, because they'll decline that too. I had like a credit card with like a $500 limit. That was like the credit card I got when I was 18. And man, was that thing just pretty much always maxed out.
Right.
Because $500 is really not a lot for a credit limit, especially when you're late. So,
but I know there's multiple things you can do, and if you can use credit in a responsible way, like I said, like the self credit is something that allows you to use credit and helps mitigate some of the issues. Excellent. And if they give you,
I think that's a company that helps fix your credit.
Oh, okay. I wasn't
sure. Let's see what this says. If in collections, would settle be the best way to go? I personally don't have collections experience, but I think the best thing to do would be to try to figure out a payment plan if possible.
Right.
I think one of the most important things about collections is to communicate with the collector and figure out what you can do about it.
Right.
Because you don't want to end up in a legal situation either.
Right.
But I think it's the best thing that you can do is communicate with the collector and see what they can work out with you.
And unfortunately, collections is a big impact. But so what we recommend is focusing on that first. It obviously depends on the level of collections, but working with the collectors is a huge step one, and getting that removed is very beneficial. So definitely try to work something that works with you and your financial situation, and try to get those collections paid off, and then that will set you off in a great path.
Yeah, collections have a really big effect on credit, definitely. So if you can figure something out to get that taken care of, that would definitely help your credit score. NerdWallet was a blessing for me back in the day. My low credit days. Yeah, I love NerdWallet, and I do use it now still whenever I'm looking at credit cards, just like reviews on credit cards, because there are so many different credit cards out there. I think NerdWallet is just a great credit.
NerdWallet's awesome. And that's when NerdWallet, it comes in completely two different spectrums. You have the very helpful, your situation, what you're trying to do, and these are the right cards that can help you in your situation. And once you get in a very good situation in terms of, hey, I got decent credit, good credit, I want to start looking at these perks and start having some of these perks be used in a positive way. Oh my God, it's so many.
Yeah.
Like I say, it depends. If you like traveling, if you like to go out to restaurants,
if you like cash back,
I mean, there's a whole lot of options, and that's where really the rewards kick in.
Yeah.
You basically flip flop your mindset as like, hey, even though it's a credit card, I'm thinking in like a debit card, and being mindful of how I'm using it. You will see perks just skyrocket, and you would even. Nothing would change in your lifestyle. Everything will be the same.
We use credit just like debit at this point.
NerdWallet is great.
Another resource is the Points Guy. That's another website, thepointsguy.com. It's kind of similar to NerdWallet, but he talks a lot about different credit cards, so that one's helpful as well. Yeah, credit. Okay, this is one thing that I didn't fully understand about credit. Is the correlation of buying a house in regards to credit. After I bought my house last year, 23, my score took a pretty big hit, but it's finally coming back up. Yeah. I feel that. No, the correlation between buying a home and your credit score is so important.
Yes.
We bought this house 4 years ago. I've lived here for 4 years.
Yeah.
God, we've lived in Florida 4 years now. That's crazy. But when we bought this house, even by then, my credit score was a lot better. It wasn't what it is now, but it was like more than good enough. I think it was like high sevens at that point, and that was 4 years ago. So maybe I got my credit together a lot quicker than I actually thought.
Well, that's the thing. You would be surprised
like
how
2
quickly,
years.
especially when you're talking about like 500, you will see huge jumps.
And you're talking about 500. 500's terrible.
Well, okay, it's bad. But I'm saying
It was terrible.
Don't stress, because even though that is a bad area, those key changes, it makes huge jumps. It's not you're gonna be 500, 501, 3 months later, 502.
Yeah.
No, it's gonna be like boom, 550, 600, and
That's true.
It's gonna jump pretty high, pretty quick once you start making those changes.
if you're making major changes.
It's the last stretch where it gets a little harder, but that unfortunately is just when some of these things kind of go off your credit, when you start seeing another major jump. So you see a really big jump when your lifestyle handling changes, and when some of those kind of unfortunately negative things come off is another major jump. And like a house, like I said, a house can get you, just because obviously it's a big purchase and the overall picture of your credit line.
Yeah.
But once you start making those payments and obviously life goes on, it starts skyrocketing.
That's when we bought this house too. It was the same thing. Because I wasn't that old either. Then I think I was I 20? I was like 25 when we bought this house. Yeah. So that took a little hit to my credit. But at that point, I knew that like the habits I had built, were okay, that I knew I was going to fix my credit. Your score for a mortgage, we'll answer this one in a second too, but 760, I would say, for a mortgage to get the best interest rate. Interest rates are really low right now, so you're going to get a good interest rate.
Yeah,
but I think 760 is
740. I don't remember.
I think 760 is where you want to be at.
So basically, we talked to some mortgage people.
740, 760, I think is a good credit score.
Yeah, and basically that's your flyaway zone. That's after that, it doesn't matter if you have whatever number.
Yeah, it's great to have like an 805 credit score, but it's basically the same thing as 765.
It does nothing for you. It's pretty much, they see it as, you're good.
Yeah.
So really that 740, 760 number is the sweet spot in terms of where everything else happens. And that's across the board. You can start seeing mortgages really give you the
credit
best
cards.
interest.
Well, you can get approved for credit cards.
Approved for credit cards, car loans. Those are the big ones. And that's really the big one. I think probably the other one, the mid-range, what I will say, is probably in the sevens.
Low sevens, high sixes.
High sixes.
I think you can still, I think another factor to getting a house too, it's your credit score, obviously. Right. It's your income. And they're looking for major things like collections. That'll hit you hard. I think, you just got to 600. Honestly, for me, getting my credit, this sounds weird, but getting my credit out of like the 500s, after I got to the 600s, in the mid 600s,
you will see
it went up a lot quicker that way. At least for me, it did. So I think that's the hard part of it, is getting out of the bottom half of it. And also, like, I don't know your situation, obviously, but like, there was 2 of us on the loan, and like, Ernesto has like, really good credit. So that helps as well too, if you have multiple people on the loan. I know not everyone, is married or anything like that, but that can help as well. Let me read this question. I'm like, I swear I'm not blind. In your opinion, how do you fix credit when accounts are closed and your credit prevents getting a card to make timely payments to start over, and you don't want to sign on payment plans like a car payment? You can get like secured credit cards. So the ones that are like secured to a certain amount and tied to a bank account. Right. The limits are usually pretty low on those, but that's a good way to start. I think pretty much anyone can get the secured credit cards are basically built to help you fix your credit.
Right.
That's the purpose of secured credit cards. So you can start with those. I would reach out if you have like a local bank too, and see what kind of cards they have.
Local banks, especially, I will recommend local and whatever your area, local banking instead of a major bank like Bank of America or something like that. Local banks tend to work better with people, so I will recommend that as well. And
even major banks do have those secured credit cards that you can look into. My first cards were with Capital One. I think they were it was Capital One. So you have to get whatever you can. Yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was I talked about how I had that really crappy car loan with a high interest rate. Keep in mind that if you do get in a situation where you need to purchase a car or something like that with a high interest rate, with a mortgage, it's a little more difficult. Refinancing a mortgage is expensive, but I went ahead and refinanced my car loan to get a lower interest rate once my credit was fixed. So you can do that. And that helped a lot. After I got it refinanced to a normal credit, a normal interest rate. So that is possible too. If you get into a bad situation, keep in mind you can refinance car loans if need be. So that helped as well. Just an FYI, there's a lot of homebuyer programs out there, and a realtor should be able to point her in the correct. Yeah, that's true too. There are a lot of home buying programs you can look into. And I would talk to a real estate agent about that and see there's a lot of government assistance with that type of stuff. Some states have different programs as well. Yeah. So just look into that because, get whatever free government money you can for anything is what I think.
And a realtor will be able to help you that without any major issues.
Yeah. And I think there's some state dependent stuff too. I know there was something back in Missouri. I can't remember what it was.
And when you're buying, remember, realtors work with you. So that's a big perk. So don't be scared to ask them questions. Give them the hard questions because they're there to work with you. And they'll do a good job to try to help you out in your particular situation. So.
Yeah. Will my college loan forgiveness help? Will that raise it? Yeah, that debt going down should raise your credit score. Definitely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that should help as well. But I think it's just important to be patient with it.
The hardest thing is patience, just because it's hard because our situation's already difficult and building it takes a long time. But like I said, even 600, you see a big jump soon. I think that's probably the biggest jump area.
I was so happy when I got to 600.
It's just a lot of things to start clearing up.
Yeah.
Working in your favor that you start seeing some pretty big jumps in that area.
Yeah. I think if you've built the habits to get up to 600, I think those same habits can get you from 600 to 700 and then 800. Like you don't really need an 800 credit score. I feel like sometimes people are just like, look at my credit score. And I'm like, 800 is kind of the same as a high 7, but yeah.
Like I said, to have accepted, literally we've been told we don't care. You got from this point
with the credit score. I know what you're talking about.
So don't try to think like you need to get to this 800 whatever number. It's literally just those small steps over time, consistent to get to those 700s. And even when you get to the 700s, it's still a lot of good benefits out there. So don't give up, especially if you've been at it for a while.
I know. I think
you'll get there. Consistency is really the big important. And like I said, once you get there, you won't even realize it because you'll be so attuned to your spending habits and how to spend and how to use your credit cards that.
Yeah. I also think raising your credit and I'm grateful for this. I mean, I'm not grateful that I had low credit at one time. I mean, if I could go back in time, I'd undo it, but I learned a lot from it. And it also taught me a lot of financial habits that I didn't know. And I think managing credit well is a great financial habit to have.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's a good lesson to learn. And it's just like, I don't know, when you turn 18, you're just supposed to know about credit. Like we're not taught about credit in school. No. And if you don't come from a household where credit is talked about, and I don't think most poor households like mine, like Ernesto's, talk about credit, right?
It's not a topic at dinner.
I was never taught this stuff growing up, so it wasn't my fault that it was messed up. And I think that's something I had to get over and not be ashamed of my credit being bad. So that helped me a lot. But yeah, I think it's not, I don't know. It's one of those things that it's if no one taught you this, how are you supposed to know it?
I mean, yeah, you kind of learn as you go. And like I said, I know it's always something hard, but kind of going back, if you have someone that you can at least talk with, that's always helpful. There's so much you can, I guess, talk to yourself But
No, I think it's good to have someone to talk
it's-
to about it and help you with it as well. So you're
Right.
not, you know.
it's always good, especially if you have a close friend or relative.
If you can
or
find
partner.
someone around you with good credit, that's the key. I just went to him. I said, "What are you doing that I'm not doing?"
Yeah,
And he said, "You know what he said?
I pay it on time.
I'm paying my stuff on time. That's what I'm doing that you're not doing." So well, he was right. But
No, but it's that's really is those small movements and good habits. And like I said, the perks, I didn't know that for a long time. I was like, perks, I just want to
like the rewards
not
and
get
stuff.
hit with interest. That was my perk. Hey, I don't get hit with interest, it's a win. But so there's a lot of things you can do with credit cards. But like I said, step by step. First, get a good handle. Don't worry about perks. Don't get distracted by that. Is throw that to the side. Get a good handle, a good habit every month. That's really step one. After that, worry about what are the additional bonuses. And like I said, if you can talk to someone, bounce ideas, great.
Yeah.
And
also, I mean, you talk to your local credit unions if you need help. Talk to a real estate agent.
Very good if you can use one.
Yeah, just there are resources that can help you with this as well too. It doesn't have to be something that you handle alone. So look for those resources as well.
Right.
This was my resource. He was free.
No, credit union is actually a good comment because they surprisingly can be very beneficial depending which credit unions, things like that. But sometimes they can be very surprising. Have some very good interest rates for a lot of things. Cars, homes, they can really come in and really beat out a lot of banks. So
yeah. I swear I'm not blind. I'm on the left,
Ramsey,
and the chat's on the right. So
yeah, Dave Ramsey definitely has some good information when it comes to this.
Yeah, like paying off debt.
Too. So there's some things that we might not agree with his style, but like I said, from a very black and white situation, he does have a lot of good points. And I think it's the same points we've been saying, that is discipline, is just following kind of your discipline plan, have an action plan for a month-to-month basis, and you'll see that climb really quick. Yeah.
That's my story. The reason I wanted to share some of this is just because I think
credit is scary.
Credit is a scary thing, and a lot of people are afraid of talking about their bad credit situations, and I think it makes other people feel ashamed of their bad credit. And I also think it does not help anyone for people not to talk about it. I think having bad credit is actually incredibly common. And if you don't have bad credit now, I feel like most people have potentially had bad credit sometime in their life or know someone that's had bad credit. So I think it's an okay topic to talk about. And I think it's also helpful for people to hear that, like, I had bad credit and now I don't. It took me years, but
it's doable. But I think that's the key thing. I think it's definitely a scary topic that most people don't want to discuss and things like that. But it's especially here, and it's such a critical asset to your lifestyle. Credit is such a huge thing.
Yeah, with bad credit, everything just becomes a little bit harder.
Difficult.
Buying a home, a car, everything just becomes a lot harder. So I think repairing your credit, if you are in that situation, is difficult. But the ideal situation would be to never have bad credit, but that's easier said than done.
Definitely is a lot easier. You don't know, things happen, right? But as long as you follow your good behaviors, tackle your high interest loans first, get those down, and then keep chopping away at those other higher interests. It starts building up. Obviously, if collections, deal with those. Make those a priority. Try to get either some kind of plan, or if you can pay those right away and get them out, that's phenomenal. Automate your payments. That could be huge. I mean, that's something that saves your butt. I mean, he'll save my butt. I know. Or
if you're gonna forget you never forget a payment. But I mean, most credit cards, it's also not like, oh, you were supposed to pay yesterday, you didn't pay, it's late. Like most times you have
you usually got like a 5-day grace period.
Even a couple days is enough too. Right. But that helps to have it automated.
So those are definitely great habits, and those are the two big ones. And after that is increase your credit score on your current cards when you can. Get that credit limit higher overall, because that makes your overall credit utilization a lot better. And then when you start really, even when you start maybe get a 650, you can definitely start applying for credit cards. I think that's perfectly acceptable. Especially store credit cards. I think those could also give you some more value, where you can further increase your credit utilization, so you can have
look at that Amex. I remember the first time I got approved for an Amex. I don't know why I thought that was so special, but I just felt really cool when I had an Amex. Like I felt like a rapper or something. So yeah, that is my story. Like I said, I cannot believe I'm sharing this on the internet, but here we are. So here we are.
But we hope it's helpful and encourage.
I also just hope it makes other people feel better or understand that this happens. Like it happens. You know, all you can do is face it. And honestly, I would have been in a better position if I would have faced it earlier. If I would have faced it before I got in a car accident, that some guy named Tom totaled my car. Don't ask me why we remember this guy's name, but it was Tom that totaled my car. I wouldn't have been stuck getting into this high interest loan and all that. So I wish I would have faced it earlier, but it is what it is, right?
It is what it is. But like I said, always look forward, never look back. It is what happens. The best you can do is just keep positive and just follow your own principles. And like I said, things will turn around.
Yep. Yeah. If you liked this video, smash the like button. I can't believe I said that. I'm starting to say that in all my YouTube videos from now on. And we're going to do more Money Mondays, not every Monday live, just because Mondays sometimes Mondays are just Mondays sometimes, especially with our jobs, but we're going to do more Money Mondays and live on YouTube. Here we are. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe. I assume everyone that's here is subscribed to our channel. So
well, we hope this was helpful. That's our goal. Just kind of help. I mean, we've been there. We've had similar issues.
His credit has never been under 700. Okay.
Anyways, our goal here is just to kind of help you guys and do the best.
And just, I think, transparency around this stuff. Yeah, because a lot of people don't talk about these things because, you know, I can do a whole thing about like favorite credit cards and stuff.
JetBlue is ours.
We use the JetBlue Plus card. It's the JetBlue Plus card. JetBlue Plus MasterCard. We use that for pretty much all of our day-to-day spending.
Right. And
that's because a lot of people don't even know what JetBlue is if they don't live on the East Coast. But JetBlue is an airline on the East Coast. I think it's only on the East Coast, but they fly to the Caribbean and like Mexico and all of that. So that's where we do a lot of our traveling. Not this year.
I know.
But most of the times, you know, like we go to Jamaica once a year or in Mexico. So with the rewards from using the JetBlue card, all of our flights are free, which is awesome.
We know people who have a Southwest one too, but that's a travel perk.
Yeah, if you're into travel, that's great.
A good easy one that we always recommend is a cashback. You can't go wrong with the cashback, and there's a lot of good cashback cards out there. I think we have 1.5%.
Capital One Quicksilver Visa cards, those are nice, and they have like two variations of it, and one is like your credit doesn't have to be as good, and the other one is your credit has to be a little bit better. They have two variations of it. So because I got the one where your credit doesn't have to be that good a long time ago when I was going through my credit journey thing. Right. So Capital One in general has a lot of good credit cards, and then business credit card wise, we use the Capital One Spark cashback card. So that's 2% cashback on everything. And we use that for everything business. So I highly recommend that if you have a business, which I assume some of you guys do if you follow me, and because we do Amazon and all that. So,
and then kind of like a random thought I just got right now, I just want to share so as a homework, if you guys are interested, one other thought you can do, especially if you're trying to consolidate credit cards, is some tricks you can do the research, plan it out, is either a balance transfer cards or no interest credit cards. Yeah. Those things can really help you for balance transfers. If you guys have multiple credit cards or a big credit card on one that you're paying interest on, you can get a balance transfer card, 15, 18 months, no interest.
That's a really good point.
It can really help you plan your financial goals a little bit easier, because now you don't have that interest to worry about. You have now 15, 18 months.
There's a fee that goes with balance transfers, usually like 3%, I think.
Yeah, it varies which card,
varies.
but I would definitely look into that, as well as no interest credit cards, just for obviously big purchases, but as well as if you're trying to kind of use it to help through different things. No interest credit cards are very helpful. They also do 15, 18 months. It's insane. But balance transfer
Yeah.
cards, if you're trying to liquidate some other high interest cards that you have interest on, you can do those balance transfers and it can be a lifesaver.
It's kind of like putting yourself on a payment plan. It's funny because my credit was messed up like 6 years ago, and I think I'm like having like flashbacks to like the things I did. I think I did a balance transfer.
Did you? I don't remember. That's just
I think I don't remember, but I'm thinking I actually did this. Like I said, this was a long time ago now, but
balance transfer is a great strategy.
It's like putting yourself on a payment plan with no interest. You have to pay the fee. That's like usually about 3%, but
it's
even if it gives you a year to pay something off, at least you're not dealing with that recurring interest that's just snowballing. That's Dave Ramsey.
If you go to Nerd Wallet, you can filter by balance transfer cards, and they'll give you multiple options too. So and no interest credit cards. You can go to Nerd Wallet, or I think what was the other website you mentioned?
The Points Guy.
Points Guy. So you can filter. So these are very general criteria. No interest, balance transfers. They're one of the main filters you can find when looking for credit cards. So definitely look at those. And those might be a pretty big, substantial help depending on your situation.
Yeah. I didn't understand how credit worked. It shows I didn't understand the negative impact because I was well into my 30s. So glad you're talking about this. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand the negative impacts of credit until they get punched in the mouth with it. And that's what happened to me. Like when I got my car interest loan, the interest on that loan, and I literally looked at it and I was like, this can't be allowed. This literally can't be allowed to have interest rates. But I had no choice. I had to take that interest rate. So, and then I think if you're getting into a home buying situation, it can be really unfortunate if you have bad credit, because once you have your mindset on buying a home, it's kind of hard to take that back, I think. So luckily I mean, I'm not grateful that my car got totaled that I had paid off, but I am grateful that happened and I had to face that and repair my credit at that point. So, and I think a lot of people get ashamed talking about this, and that sure doesn't help the situation. I mean, yeah, it's a sucky situation, and you put yourself into that, but not everyone comes from the same circumstances. If your parents paid for your college and you're just in a different boat than I was, and if they taught you about credit and stuff like that, then that's great. That's awesome. But not everyone comes from that situation. And then you get into a situation where you go to buy your first home.
First home is things that they would definitely punch in the face. I did a lot of research because, again, I had no idea. I was like, a house? What do I got to do? But again, there's a lot of programs you can do. I would definitely recommend talk to a realtor. There's a lot of different government benefits that you can use. There are definitely ways you can get into a home that could be financially favorable in your situation. So don't get scared. Ask the question. It's always good to ask the question. But definitely, a home is something that will punch you in the face if you're not careful in your credit. That's a hard one. That's a tough one. Yeah,
that and car loan.
And car loans.
But car loans you can refinance pretty easily. Home loans, you have to play the.
I always say I think you have a little more options in cars. Homes, it's a tough one. Homes a tough one. Well,
so we are over an hour, and it is 10 o'clock at night here in Florida. So we are going to wrap this up. But like I said, we'll be doing these not every Monday for Money Monday, but a lot of Mondays. I like going live. It's just nice to interact and talk to people. So thank you guys for coming, and we hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you maybe next Monday or maybe the Monday after. I don't know, but we'll see you one of these Mondays. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye. Let's see, end stream.